Welcome to the Atlantic Speakers Bureau Showcase of 5 top professional public speakers. They are informative and thought-provoking. Welcome to the future of work and society. Atlantic Speakers Bureau showcases 5 extraordinary and thought-provoking speakers in today's showcase. Grab your favorite beverage and enjoy the showcase.
What I've learned about success is that it does not look like one certain thing or fit into one little box. Success must come from a place of freedom, not fear.
You're the first American to win in a non-boycotted Olympics since Mary Lou Retton. Is that more or less what it is? Yeah, yes. Congratulations. That's a pretty big deal.
I was 16 years old, and I just accomplished becoming the Olympic all-around champion in gymnastics. I remember coming back home from the Olympics. I had this doctor appointment for my back. I remember him telling me that, Carly, you're gonna need to retire. At that point, my question became, well, who is Carly without gymnastics? I've learned that the what's next can be another mountain to summit. And the what's next never seems to get easier. It's called the curiosity quotient. Success is being pursued or defined from a place of fear. You won't ever achieve it. If you're letting others define your success, then you won't receive it.
Those feet outside of that white line, that's a deduction.
The curiosity quotient is a process of patience and innovation. Just because you're great at gymnastics and it worked out, it doesn't mean that you're going to be great at everything else. I mean, the next logical thing, a goal for yourself to set is going after a Grammy, because how hard can that be? A little harder than I thought. Challenges will present themselves. What defines us is how we let these things take us from our best to better. No matter what we are going through in life, no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we can always choose to focus on those things that we do have in our lives that are good, that are positive, that we can be grateful for. And I get asked a lot, who pushed you? Well, it was always me. It had to be me. Hard work never disappears. Never.
If the future is impossible to predict, which I think we can agree is true, and the talent shortage isn't going anywhere, how do we build teams that thrive in the future of work?
Our next speaker, Eric Tremundi, is a globally recognized keynote speaker that has been on literally hundreds of stages and worked with category-leading companies from all over the world. His best-selling book, Rethink Work, has been a go-to resource as we collectively navigate the future of work. And as a co-founder of Now of Work, Eric spends his time studying incredible leaders and is here today to share what separates those that thrive in the future of work with those that simply don't make it.
What I've got for you is what 10 years of research shows allows us to be incredible leaders and build incredible teams. It's almost like a bit of a playbook, a blueprint to leading in that new world of work. And truthfully, it's as simple as coming down to 3 things. We need to, as Yasmin said, build a deep sense of trust. We have to be able to isolate and remove friction. And finally, we have to be able to create this culture of experimentation. It's those 3 things, that simple. Now, a lot of us intuitively know the importance of trust. We know what good trusting relationships feels like. The problem, though, is that very rarely do we understand how to build trust. What's the system? What's the operations? What's the framework to be able to build trust across our teams? His name's Kevin Stefanski. He's in the orange tie. A few years ago, he was awarded a bit of a promotion, okay? He was promoted to be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns football team. And the way I see it, Stefanski had 3 strikes against him, okay? The first strike is that when he was assigned to be the head coach, he had never been a head coach before. He was a rookie head coach, a pioneer, a trailblazer in his own right. The second strike, for those of you that know, is indeed the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are horrible, like really bad. Like 9 of the last 10 years, they were dead last in their division, okay? In 2017, they didn't even win a single game. And when they finally won a game in 2018, the city threw them a parade. I don't know if they're mocking them or celebrating them at this point, but they're not a good team, okay? Now, the third strike against Stefanski is that he was promoted to be the head coach in the first wave of the pandemic. So not only could he not bring his team together to work on drills and fundamentals in place, he couldn't even have them in the same room. So he got 55 grown macho football players onto Zoom or onto Teams, and he said, fellas, I need you to know who I am, and I'm really hoping I can get to know who you are too. So I've come up with this drill. I call it the 4H drill. And by the way, we can use this across your teams too. You can modify it, you can tailor it, you can do whatever you want to get to know your team a little bit better. But what he said, I want to share with you my heroes, my heartbreaks, my hopes, and my history. Now you might think that his heroes are legendary coaches in the NFL. No, his heroes were his parents. And he shared with his team all the things that his parents sacrificed to give him the opportunities, to give him the life that he is able to live today. He then shared one of his heartbreaks. And he shared how in high school somebody just shattered his heart. I think we all know what that feels like, how it just shattered his heart, and how he just angrily walked into football and gave him that grit, that resilience, that tenacity, that distraction, which then changed the course of his life, which also led him to the wife and the 3 kids that he has today. He said that heartbreak was the best thing that ever happened to me. And as he shared these things, you could almost see the defense, the invisible defense sort of like just sort of lower. The walls start to come down. Now Stefanski, he knew that a psychologically safe organization is one where people can feel that openness to share without being judged, without being ridiculed, without being reprimanded, well, just feeling truly safe. Now, one by one, you could see the roots of this team grow into the ground, the foundation become rock solid, to the point where people started to empathize and share and comment on each other's stories that Stefanski said, no, stop. I can't hear what anyone's saying. You're all talking over each other too much. This was working too well. So after practices and after games for the next 3 weeks, each player, those who were interested and willing to and excited to share, would get to share some of their 4H's. And as time went on, the weeks turned into months, the cohesion and the collaboration on this team became very strong, something that Cleveland hadn't seen in decades. To the point where the Cleveland Browns team that took the field that September ended up being 11-6 that year. They had a winning record. But not only did they have a winning record, they made it to the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. Even better, they won that playoff game, and they won a playoff game for the first time in 28 years. Wow. And as he went to the press conference that night after their final game, after their final loss in the playoffs, every one of the journalists wanted to ask him the same question. They said, Stefanski, what was your secret? How did you turn that team around in such a short period of time? What he said really stuck with me. I'm hoping it sticks with you too. He said, when my team trusts each other off the field, they play better together on the field. I want you to think about that for a second. When my team trusts each other off the field, they play better together on the field. I think we should shift from checking on to checking in, where instead of top down, we're now like eye to eye, heart to heart, asking the most simple, the most basic, the most human-centric questions. Like, how are you? What did you learn this week? What can we improve on? What mistakes did you make? Just because we can't predict the future doesn't mean that we can't build a resilient team that's able to thrive in it. I'm going to stop there and say thank you so much for your time today.
Byron Reese has spent 25 years as a tech entrepreneur. He is the CEO of a technology research and analytics firm.
An award-winning futurist, technologist, and author. The founder of several high-tech companies. He has obtained numerous patents, and the websites he has launched have received over 1 billion visitors. He's also the author of several acclaimed books. He served on both private and public boards of directors and has founded several nonprofit organizations. Please join me in welcoming Byron Reese.
Hi. am the future of blank guy. That's what I talk about, the future of blank. Whatever it is you need somebody to talk about the future of, that's what I do. And I have given so many of these speeches. I've done the future of banking, the future of blockchain, the future of sand. The sand people had that event at a Ritz-Carlton, so they're doing pretty well. I've done the future of self-driving cars, the future of upholstery, the future of consumer credit, the future of the insurance industry, the future of concrete, the future of higher education, the future of 3D printing, the future of agriculture, the future of solar power, the future of delivering packages with robots, the future of office space, and most recently, the future of the nation state.
You know, we get a lot of people on who are very grim and bleak about the future. In fact, a lot of us feel kind of grim, but you don't have that message.
Not at all. In fact, I think a better tomorrow isn't just possible. I think it is actually all but inevitable at this point. I mean, the most vexing problems humanity has are fundamentally technological problems. You have disease, which is nothing but technology. You have poverty, you have hunger, you have ignorance, which is kind of its own special class, and you have war. And everything, except maybe war, you can argue is just technological. And if it is a technological problem, then almost definitionally it has a technological solution. You know, for 5,000 years, utopians have dreamed of a world where everybody had a good life. But historically, there's just never been enough of the good stuff. Not enough food, not enough medicine, not enough education. And what happens is technology is a trick we learn that overcomes scarcity. Now, I am here today because I think things are about to change for a fourth time. And if I had just started off by saying, I think things are about to change, well, you know, what news is there in that? But if you say things are going to change in a way they've only ever changed 3 times in history, and one of them is when we got speech, well, that's worth paying attention to. What is this fourth big change? I think it's 2 technologies that came to us together. The first is artificial intelligence, a method by which we take human thought and we outsource it to machines. And the other is robotics, where we take human action and outsource it to machines. And the thought that may be percolating to the top of your brain is, well, if we take thought and action and get machines to do it, then what do we do? And so I would read these biographies, and I was drawn to these ones, not about movie stars or athletes, but about people who did great things. And I don't mean great in the Alexander the Great kind of great. I mean people who their life transformed the world. It made the world fundamentally a better place. And the neat thing about it was they were all over any number of disciplines. They ranged from Marie Curie all the way to Plato, Da Vinci, to Jonas Salk, to Norman Borlaug. And if you don't know about Norman Borlaug is credited with saving 1 billion lives. I mean, like, who does that? You know, at some point you're just showing off, you know? And he was a botanist who helped make India and Mexico nations that exported food instead of importing it. And so I would lay in bed in the East Texas town I grew up in, and I would read these biographies, and I would literally clutch them when I would get to the end, because I would have these transcendent moments where for just an instant, I was aware of the possibility of one person actually being able to have an effect on everybody on the planet. Or consider disease like smallpox. In its last 100 years of existence, smallpox killed 500 million people. That is roughly the number of people who have died in every war ever fought. And yet, Jenner created a vaccine for it in the 1700s, before Pasteur graced us with germ theory. Or consider what we've done to polio, which now, new polio cases are as common as being killed by lightning. Salk created a vaccine for that in what is compared to today a low-tech world. And our world of today is going to be deemed a low-tech world very soon. For we can already deconstruct our viral foes down to like their core. We can like look inside of them, and soon we'll be able to model them in a computer. All these things are changing. In my book, I give 50 reasons there will be no war in the future. And one of them is simply that business accomplishments have replaced our notion of achievement for men over military accomplishments. And
Thank God.
Yes, absolutely. Second is the value of targets has gone way up. They say if Tokyo got leveled, it would be $8 trillion to rebuild. And so, that's a big disincentive for Tokyo, Japan not to go into war.
No more 30 seconds over Tokyo. It's too expensive.
Exactly. As wealth levels rise, and everybody gets an iPod and a comfortable life and all of that, their tendency to want to wage war with their neighbors decline.
What aspects of our lives as we continue to develop AI and AGI will be most impacted, Mr. Reese, in your view?
I think a couple of things. So technology does this trick where it doubles in capability on a predictable basis. Computers, for instance, double in power, roughly speaking, every 2 years. But it turns out all kinds of technologies do that. It may not be every 2 years, but they double and they double and they double and they double and they double. And humans are terrible at kind of just understanding what a big deal that is, because nothing in your life behaves that way. You don't wake up with 2 kids, then 4 kids, then 8 kids, 16 kids. So there's an old story to try to illustrate what a big deal this is. And it's about the invention of the game of chess. About 1,000 years ago in present-day India, the man who invented it brought it to the ruler and he said, "I have invented chess." And the ruler said, "This is really nice. What would you like for a reward?" And he said, "I'm a humble man. Take a single grain of rice and put it on that first square, and then 2 on the next one, and then 4, 8, 16. And I just want the rice in the upper right-hand corner." Now, how much rice do you think that is? I mean, the whole point is you're going to underguess, but how much rice do you think that is? It turns out it's more rice than has ever been cultivated in the history of our planet. And when the ruler found that out, he had the man put to death. And there's another little life lesson to pull away from that. But the point is, nobody's mind goes there. Nobody says, "I suppose that's more rice than has ever been cultivated." So what does it mean? It means that while it took us 3,000 years to get from the abacus to the iPad, in just 25 years, we're going to have something as far ahead of the iPad as it is ahead of the abacus, something that none of us can even come close to dreaming of. I've always been fascinated by utopian literature. It began in 1650, imagining the better world, what it would be like. And they had some pretty crazy ideas, frankly. They imagined a world in which people could choose their own rulers instead of having kings rule over them. They imagined a world with legal equality between men and women. They imagined a world where everyone was educated, not just a few people. And they imagined a world where you could choose your own religion instead of having to believe the state religion. And you know what? We haven't delivered on that for everybody, but we're on the way in our time to delivering that to the world. And so it's appropriate for us to imagine the utopia we want to build 20 years from now. What do we want? And we're going to build, whatever that is, we're going to build it, and then we're going to build a better world than that. And then we're going to build a better world than that, until one day we're going to wake up in a world we can't imagine all that much better. And that's the world we're going to take to the stars. We're going to populate 1 billion planets, each with 1 billion people, each empowered to live their best possible life. Thank you very much.
Atlantic Speakers Bureau presents Justin Forsett.
Hi, I'm Justin Forsett. I'm a former 9-year NFL veteran, Pro Bowl running back for the Baltimore Ravens.
Forsett into the clear, into the end zone. A career night for Justin Forsett.
There's a good run by Forsett. He's got another good run. Forsett is over 100 now. He's adding to the total.
I know most of you guys are looking at me right now like, man, this guy played in the NFL for 9 years? I know I look like a weird combination between Kevin Hart and Al Roker, but I did play in the NFL for 9 years. It's just something you can Google, folks, and we can solve it, and yeah, you can find me there.
I am not only an athlete, but now current entrepreneur. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a mission-driven self-care brand called Hustle Clean. We sell our products all over the country in stores like Target, Walmart, Kohl's, Macy's, you name it, you're able to see our products. A lot of times when I talk about what I do now, people ask me like, Justin, how are you having so much success, both on the field and off the field? From your transition from being in the NFL backfield to the executive boardroom. And I tell them, the road has not been easy. My road and my path has been riddled with opposition, adversity, you name it, I've struggled with it.
Burnout, depression, anxiety, stress, all stemming from things that we deal with in the workplace or within our organization or the businesses that we're running in this day and age.
We're struggling because of obstacles and adversity. I'm here to provide hope. I'm here to give you encouragement and inspiration to let you guys know that what you're dealing with does not have to define you, but can refine you and make you better, can push you closer to your dreams and your goals. In a 3-step process of excelling at what you can't control, building a huddle, and serving a team in the midst of trials can lead you from opposition to peak performance. 2013. It was a year filled with so much promise and hope. I had just signed my biggest contract to date with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm going 10, 15, 20 yards. That moment I roll over, medical staff is standing over me. I had just broken my foot.
The writing was on the wall that my time in Jacksonville was over. And I was released, inevitably.
And I recall them telling me 6 words over and over again. We know what you can do. They were labeling me, they were limiting me, they were placing me in this box.
I want to encourage you today to say, boxes are for things, not people. Boxes are for things, not people.
Greatness grows best in the shadows. See, I believe all of us in here were created for impact and greatness. It lives inside of us. Entrepreneurship, it is tough. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, and I used to get hit by 300-pound men every Sunday. But it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I couldn't control the naysayers, but what I could control was my attitude and my effort. You need to have a group of people in your life that you can do life with.
People that are going to allow you to be transparent and vulnerable, because vulnerability leads to growth.
And if you feel that you're too big to serve, then you're simply too small to lead. Serving does something on the inside of us that actually starts manifesting on the outside of us. Those moments when we're being challenged, when we're facing adversity, when we're constantly being pulled and stretched, and we have to dig deep within ourselves and pull out something that we didn't even know existed in order to take us to the next level in life. If you want your business feeling inspired and encouraged and ready to take on any obstacle that may come their way, ready to persevere and soar to new heights, bring me to your next event. I promise you, we're going to reach peak performance by any means necessary. Let's go! Okay, bring it back in. I don't want them to realize how short I am.
And I've learned that there really is only 2 important ingredients to disruption and innovation.
If you're unwilling to disrupt yourself, well, I promise someone is willing to disrupt your business for you. Every amazing thing that's changed the world, whether it's penicillin, the steam engine, sliced bread, or TikTok, they all started out as bad ideas.
We learned it wasn't about having good ideas. It was about building a system to try lots of bad ones.
Because you see, ideas do not spring out of thin air in some eureka moment. If you fall in love with your idea, it will only break your heart.
Because I'm sure you've all had that experience where you wake up with this great idea and you come rushing downstairs to tell your wife or tell your kids, or you go into school and tell your teacher, or you can tell the boss or tell your employees, and they all say the same thing. That'll never work.
When you do have that great idea, what I'd like you to do is get out of the shower, towel off, and do something with it.
You're going to learn more in one day of doing something, or making something, or building something, or selling something than in a year of studying it.